Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Princess and the Human. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 13, A Different Kind of Nobility. Meaning we now have all the ingredients save for the Neovetus, which we can only procure the day before, so they don't spoil. The invitation, however, is prepared. Vassar, the Star Palace's steward, concluded his report. Silvani nodded. Good. With that, all the preparations for the visit of the Taistri ambassador are done. All that's left is somehow getting Kyroton under control, she said, more to herself than Vassar. Your Highness, if I may, the steward asked, when are you planning to inform your parents regarding your guest? Whenever I deem it's the right time to do so. The steward, getting the hint that the conversation was over, took a bow and left the room, seamlessly trading places with Dr. Cathay, who was now entering. Are you having a stressful day, Your Highness? Silvani sighed. Well, the Taistri ambassador is coming in a few days. I need to prepare everything for our new trade route with the Kirstenalv, and then there is also the aftermath of the Karosha attack. By the first ones, the only thing missing would be my mouth malting beginning early. But those aren't your troubles. How did your talk with Nadine go? Could you figure something out? Yes, quite a few things, actually. Something you should know first. As it turns out, Nadine is a noble. Silvani paused. That was indeed pivotal. Sure, it didn't change anything in the short term. Nadine was already treated as a royal guest anyway. And since she hadn't said anything so far, she didn't seem to put much emphasis on her rank. However, it would be vital information should she interact with anyone outside of the Star Palace, not to mention when they would make contact with her people. However, there was a detail about this that didn't seem quite right. When I first talked to her, she was extremely nervous and had no idea how to address me. Even if the etiquette is different than ours, she should have still known how to address me by her people's standards. Or is she maybe a first generation like you? But even then, she would have met their king when she got the title. Or is their culture that different from ours? The doctor chuckled. It is, yes, but not the way you think. But to answer your other question first, no. She's not a first generation. On the contrary, she can trace her lineage back almost 700 years, which, assuming her calculations in that regard are correct, is equal to over 1,000 of our solar cycles. Now Silvani was dumbfounded. Even the founder of her clan, Chiron, had only risen to power around 600 cycles ago, 200 cycles before the Unification Wars, and Nadine's family was almost twice as old. So Nadine is not only a commoner, she is a descendant of the currently oldest noble family in the Alliance, yet she never said anything. Well then, please to tell me how their culture is different in the not the way I think, Doctor. It's a bit complicated. I think it's best I give you my full report. Again, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience, Doc. Nadine apologized once more as the maid left and the two of them entered the room. Her face's color was fairly pale compared to before, and dark shades had appeared under her eyes, which Cathay couldn't recall seeing before. The small alien had explained that she didn't really know how this came to be, but had insisted that it was just a sign of her being tired and nothing noteworthy. Don't worry, the palace is big. Getting lost is something that can happen if you're not constant to it. Although you could have just asked one of the servants to bring you to my office. I thought that they were busy and didn't want to disturb them. You are right, they are busy. Busy serving the people in this palace, which includes you. They are expected to get orders from you. But I just wanted to ask you some more questions, so whether we do it here or in my office doesn't really matter. She held up a small device. And should an emergency arise, all one needs to do is press the button next to my door, and I'll get notified. So me being here shouldn't be a problem. As they walked over to the chairs, Cathay sneaked a glance at the desk. There was a small pile of sheets on top of one filled with script the doctor had never seen. That had to be Nadine's native language. She also noticed that some words were crossed out. Ah, yes, the pain of physical writing. Cathay couldn't even remember when the last time she had physically written was. Then again, their datapads couldn't reproduce the foreign script, and not being able to delete mistakes was a smaller annoyance compared to handwriting on screen. Still, there was a lot of words crossed out. Probably had been a while for Nadine as well. There were also some spots where the writing appeared to be slightly washed out. as if someone had dribbled water onto the sheet. Had she spilled her drink? Next to the sheets, there was a box of molting tissues, or to be exact, a box that at one point contained molting tissues. Its smaller contents could now all be found in the trash bin below the desk. Nadine pulled her chair away from the desk, turned it around, and climbed onto it. The things here really weren't made for her size. Some species in the Alliance were on the small end, like the male Taistri, for example, but the human was even smaller than those. So, although she had been given furniture for smaller species, she still had to put some pillows on the seat in order to comfortably reach the desk. "I heard the dressmaker will need a few days. Will you be fine until then?" the doctor inquired. "It's quite warm, so yeah, I'll manage. Though I'm curious how the sandals will turn out. He got really eager when I described those to him. But anyway." You wanted to talk about food issues?" "Correct. We still have some leftover meat from the Karosha storage, but that won't last long. I also can't imagine that it gives you everything you need." The alien girl nodded. "The problem is, the list can only do so much, as my knowledge is only rudimentary. Maybe it would be for the best if I simply ruled out the things that are poisonous to me, and then we can just experiment. I'm not a nutritionist after all." "She isn't? Then how come she knows so much about it? The things she could tell me so far go far above what I would call rudimentary. Well, I can ask later. There are more pressing things I have to figure out first. A different question, just to make sure. You wouldn't happen to be a noble, would you?" If the options are just yes or no, then yes, I am a noble." "Oh, thank the first ones I asked. Technically." Cathay stopped taking notes and looked up. "What do you mean, technically?" "Well, it's true that my family holds a title, but did they lose it? Is one of your parents a commoner, so you couldn't join the clan?" What? No, you know what? Let's go back to the start. Yes, I am a noble. No, the fact does not carry any weight. I have the same last name, and then some dude from the early 16th century. But that's it. Title doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything?" The doctor nodded. "According to her, being noble only means, and I quote, that I can write a fancy word in front of my stupidly long last name," she said. "I once had nobilities similar to ours, but nowadays it is mostly viewed as an archaic concept. Most countries of our homeworld have either abolished their ruling class or transformed it into something called a constitutional monarchy, which, I have to admit, was a concept I didn't fully understand when she explained it. It is still an important takeaway, just a different one than we expected. Should we ever make contact with the humans, treating some differently based on their heritage is what would offend them, not the other way around." "Now she'll make to get that noted. What about, the other thing?" "Yes, I was getting to that." "Regarding those," Cathay pointed to the empty tissue box, "you seem to have used up quite a lot. Is everything all right?" Yes, you don't need to worry about it." "You sure?" "Yes, I'm sure." "I apologize if I sound pushy, but I am aware that there are things one doesn't like to talk about. Please do remember that I am still your doctor, even if I don't know much about your kind yet." Nadine was quiet for a while before she took a deep breath. "Yes, I am aware, but I assure you, there's nothing wrong with me physically, and I'm in no need of medical attention." "Very well. On a different note, would you mind if I took the bin with me?" The small alien cocked her head. "Why would you want some used tissues?" "To run some chemical analysis. One never knows where important information hides." Okay. Suit yourself then. Thank you. By the way," she didn't finish her sentence, as her emergency alarm called her back to her office. "That concludes my report. I'll send you a written version later on." "Thank you. But what did you hope to get from the analysis?" "A lot, actually. Most of it was already dried, but it appears as though she used the tissues for two different things. One was a rather clear liquid that, interestingly, contained sodium chloride and hydrochloric acid, amongst other things. The other was some yellow mucus made out of some proteins, as well as sodium, chloride, calcium, magnesium, and potassium." "It's not blood, is it?" "No, her blood is red. But whatever this mucus is, she probably needs everything in it. It is interesting to call that a nutrient list, but we should be able to procure all of that." "That's good news. What about the emergency?" "What emergency?" "Well, the one that sounded your alarm." "Oh, that. No one was there when I returned, and none of the servants knew anything. So I assumed that Prince Kyrton was the one pressing the button for no reason." Silvani didn't answer. She simply groaned and buried her face in her hands. End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, HenryTheRed, Casper Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.